Tablet 11, The Story of the Flood. Gilgamesh spoke to Utnapishtim the far away. I've been looking at you, but your appearance is not strange. You are like me. You yourself are not different. You are like me. My mind was resolved to fight with you, but instead, my arm lies useless over you. Tell me, how is it that you stand in the assembly of the gods and have found life? Utnapishtim spoke to Gilgamesh, saying, I will reveal to you, Gilgamesh, a thing that is hidden. A secret of the gods I will tell you. Shuruppak, a city that you surely know, situated on the banks of the Euphrates. That city was very old, and there were gods inside it. The hearts of the great gods moved them to inflict the flood. Their father, Anu, uttered the oath of secrecy. Valiant Enlil was their advisor. Ninurta was their chamberlain. Anugi was their minister of canals. Ea, the clever prince, was under oath with them. So he repeated their talk to the reed house. Reed house, wall, wall. O man of Shuruppak, son of Ubartutu, tear down the house and build a boat. Abandon wealth and seek living beings. Spurn possessions and keep alive living beings. Make all living beings go up into the boat which you are to build. Its dimensions must measure equal to each other. Its length must correspond to its width. Roof it over like the Apsu. I understood and spoke to my lord Ea. My lord, thus is the command which you have uttered. I will heed and will do it. But what shall I answer the city, the populace, and the elders? Ea spoke, commanding me, his servant. Well then, this is what you must say to them. It appears that Enlil is rejecting me, so I cannot reside in your city, nor set foot on Enlil's earth. I will go down to the Apsu to live with my lord Ea, and upon you he will rain down abundance, a profusion of fowl, myriad fishes. He will bring to you a harvest of wealth. In the morning he will leave loaves of bread shower down, and in the evening a rain of wheat. Just as dawn began to glow, the land assembled around me. The carpenter carried his hatchet, the reed worker carried his flattening stone, the child carried the pitch, the weak brought whatever else was needed. On the 5th day I laid out her exterior. It was a field in area. Its walls were each 10 times 12 cubits in height. The sides of its tops were equal length, 10 times it cubits each. I laid out its interior structure and drew a picture of it. I provided it with 6 decks, thus dividing it into 7 levels. The inside of it divided into 9 compartments. I drove plugs to keep out water in its middle part. I saw to the punting poles and laid in what was necessary. 3 times 3,600 units of raw bitumen I poured into the bitumen kiln. 3 times 3,600 units of pitch into it. There were 3 times 3,600 porters of casks who carried the vegetable oil, apart from the 3,600 units of oil which they consumed, and 2 times 3,600 units of oil which the boatmen stored away. I butchered oxen for the meat, and day upon day I slaughtered sheep. I gave the workmen ale, beer, oil, and wine as if it were river water, so they could make a party like the New Year's festival, and I set my hand to the oiling. The boat was finished by sunset. The launching was very difficult. They had to keep carrying a runaway of poles front to back until 2/3 of it had gone into the water. Whatever I had loaded on it, whatever silver I had loaded on it, whatever gold I had loaded on it, all the living beings that I had loaded on it, I had all my kith and kin go up into the boat, all the beasts and animals of the field and the craftsmen I had go up. Shamash had set a stated time. In the morning, I will let loaves of bread shower down, and in the evening, a rain of wheat. Go inside the boat, seal the entry. That stated time had arrived. In the morning he let loaves of bread shower down, and in the evening a rain of wheat. I watched the appearance of the weather. The weather was frightful to behold. I went into the boat and sealed the entry. For the caulking of the boat to Pazurami Hazuramuri the boatman, I gave the palace together with its contents. Just as dawn began to glow, there arose from the horizon a black cloud. Adad rumbled inside of it. Before him went Shulat and Hanish, heralds going over mountains and land. Irigal pulled out the mooring poles. Forth went Ninurta and made the dikes overflow. The Anunnaki lifted up the torches, setting the land ablaze with their flare. Stunned shock over Adad's deeds overtook the heavens and turned to blackness all that had been light. The land shattered like a pot. All day long the south wind blew, blowing fast, submerging the mountain in water, overwhelming the people like an attack. No one could see his fellow. They could not recognize each other in the torrent. The gods were frightened by the flood and retreated, ascended to the heaven of Anu. The gods were cowering like dogs, crouching by the outer wall. Ishtar shrieked like a woman in childbirth. The sweet-voiced mistress of the gods wailed. The olden days have alas turned to clay, because I said evil things in the assembly of the gods. How could I say evil things in the assembly of the gods, ordering a catastrophe to destroy my people? No sooner have I given birth to my dear people than they fill the sea like so many fish. The gods, those of the Anunnaki, were weeping with her. The gods humbly sat weeping, sobbing with grief, their lips burning, parched with thirst. 6 days and 7 nights came the wind and flood, the storm flattening the land. When the 7th day arrived, the storm was pounding. The flood was a war, struggling with itself like a woman, writhing in labor. The sea calmed, fell still, the whirlwind and flood stopped up. I looked around all day long. Quiet had set in, and all the human beings had turned to clay. The terrain was as flat as a roof. I opened a vent, and fresh air, daylight, fell upon the side of my nose. I fell to my knees and sat weeping, tears streaming down the side of my nose. I looked around for coastlines in the expanse of the sea. And at 12 leagues there emerged a region of land. On Mount Nimush, the boat lodged firm. Mount Nimush held the boat, allowing no sway. One day, and a second Mount Nimush held the boat, allowing no sway. A third day, a fourth Mount Nimush held the boat, allowing no sway. A fifth day, a sixth Mount Nimush held the boat, allowing no sway. When a 7th day arrived, I sent forth a dove and released it. The dove went off but came back to me. No perch was visible, so it circled back to me. I sent forth a swallow and released it. The swallow went off but came back to me. No perch was visible, so it circled back to me. I sent forth a raven and released it. The raven went off and saw the waters slither back. It eats, it scratches, it bobs, but does not circle back to me. Then I sent out everything in all directions and sacrificed a sheep. I offered incense in front of the mountain ziggurat. 7 and 7 cult vessels I put in place, and into the fire underneath, or into the bowls, I poured reeds, cedar, and myrtle. The gods smelled the savor. The gods smelled the sweet savor and collected like flies over a sheep sacrifice. Just then, Balatili arrived. She lifted up the large flies, beads which Anu had made for his enjoyment. You gods, as surely as I shall not forget this lapis lazuli around my neck, may I be mindful of these days and never forget them. The gods may come to the incense offering, but Enlil may not come to the incense offering, because without considering, he brought about the flood and consigned my people to annihilation. Just then, Enlil arrived. He saw the boat and became furious. He was filled with rage at the Igigi gods. Where did a living being escape? No man was to survive the annihilation. Ninurta spoke to valiant Enlil, saying, Who else but Ea could devise such a thing? It is Ea who knows every machination. Spoke to Valiant Enlil, saying, It is yours, O valiant one, who is the sage of the gods. How could you bring a flood without consideration? Charge the violation to the violator, charge the offense to the offender, but be compassionate lest mankind be cut off. Be patient lest they be killed. Instead of bringing on the flood, would that a lion had appeared to diminish the people? Instead of your bringing on the flood, would that a wolf had appeared to diminish the people? Instead of your bringing on the flood, would that famine had occurred to slay the land? Instead of your bringing on the flood, would that pestilent era had appeared to ravage the land? It was not I who revealed the secret of the great gods. I only made a dream appear to Atrahasis, and thus he heard the secret of the gods. Now then, the deliberation should be about him. Enlil went up inside the boat and, grasping my hand, made me go up. He had my wife go up and kneel by my side. He touched our forehead, and standing between us, he blessed us. Previously, Utnapishtim was a human being, but now let Utnapishtim and his wife become like us, the gods. Let Utnapishtim reside far away at the mouth of the rivers. They took us far away and settled us at the mouth of the rivers. Now then, who will convene the gods on your behalf, that you may find the life that you are seeking? Wait, you must not lie down for 6 days and 7 nights. Soon as he sat down with his head between his legs, sleep like a fog blew upon him. Utnapishtim said to his wife, Look there, the man, the youth who wanted eternal life, sleep like a fog blew him over. His wife said to Utnapishtim the far away, Touch him, let the man awaken. Let him return safely by the way he came. Let him return to his land by the gate through which he left. Utnapishtim said to his wife, Mankind is deceptive and will deceive you. Come, bake loaves for him and keep setting them by his head, and draw on the walls each day that he lay down. She baked his loaves and placed them by his head, and marked on the wall the day that he lay down. The first loaf was desiccated, the second stale, the third moist, the fourth turned white, the fifth sprouted gray mold, the sixth is still fresh. The seventh, suddenly he touched him, and the man awoke. Gilgamesh said to Utnapishtim, The very moment sleep was pouring over me, you touched me and alerted me. Utnapishtim spoke to Gilgamesh, saying, Look over there, Gilgamesh, count your loaves. You should be aware of what is marked on the wall. Your first loaf is desiccated, the second stale, and the third moist. Your fourth turned white. The fifth sprouted gray mold. The sixth is still fresh. The seventh, suddenly he touched him, and the man awoke. Gilgamesh said to Utnapishtim,